I'm Kathy Crablin. I'm Associate Director of Development for Valley Youth House, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of Valley Youth House and also for the Campaign for What Works. And we're here today to talk about the 6,000 children who are homeless in Pennsylvania, half of whom are infants. All of us here today, consumers, service providers, academicians, and physicians, we're here to speak to you today, and we're here to agree that tracking homeless babies and making sure they receive early prevention and intervention services is the right thing for babies, for the moms, for the taxpayers, and for this state. We're here, let me begin by introducing Lisa Weingartner, who is our Regional Director of Valley Youth House Independent Living Programs. Lisa holds a Master's of Social Work degree from Marywood University and has worked in child welfare services for 20 years. Sorry, I had to say that. Prior to joining Valley Youth House 9 years ago, she was a casework supervisor and child abuse investigator with Northampton County Children and Youth. Lisa.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for coming. Just a real quick history on Valley Youth House. We've been in this area, and this is our home area, for over 41 years, doing all kinds of services, not just independent living services, but prevention, intervention. We're in schools, behavioral health, emergency shelter, street outreach, and of course supportive housing and homelessness intervention for transitional age kids. Our independent livings programs serve about 1,600 youth a year in 11 counties in the state of Pennsylvania, most of whom are in this region in the Lehigh Valley. Many of our kids, about 30% of them, are teen moms and dads, so their children are also with us. So supporting infants and toddlers in their early development is extremely important to us. The location of today's event is our Great Beginnings program, which is for homeless youth with children, moms primarily, but also some dads at times. And we really feel the investment in this program and in the young adults and the young children is very important in order to create families and adults who are self-sufficient and contributors to society in the future. We're really appreciative that you all could come here today, and have a great day.
So now I want to introduce Janisa Sanchez, who was a resident here until 6 months ago. And Janisa is here with her daughter, Alani, who we're also very happy to have. Janisa, do you want to say a few words?
Good morning. Okay. When I was about 13 years old, I became homeless. Many events led up to that. It was just constant jumping from house to house, certain worries that a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old child should not worry about. When I hit 16, I met my daughter's father, and, I became pregnant, and it was even more of a struggle. Having to worry about my unborn child, my living situation, and just everything. And then I had my daughter, and I didn't really know what to do. I was very, very worried with a newborn and jumping around and just not having stability. And that's what I mainly wanted for my child. Finally, I heard about Valley Youth House and the Great Beginnings program. And I heard that they did have a program for, single mothers, teenagers that, didn't have anywhere to go. Coming to Valley Youth House, I knew that it was going to be great for me and my child. I knew that they were going to help me succeed and move forward and just be better, a better mother, a better, caregiver, a better provider for my child. I finally had a house for multiple months at a time. It was a year, over a year. They helped me obtain my birth certificate, my social security card, my ID. I didn't have any of them things. They helped me with certain things that I didn't know. Being a parent is new to me. I was a teenager. I was 18 years old. I didn't know. Hey, is my child supposed to be doing this? It's stressful. I don't know what to do. I was a single mother. My counselor, who is a mother herself, Lisa, who is a mother herself, I can come to them and ask them certain things about parenting. Because of Valley Youth House, using the ages and stages, I knew that my daughter was ahead of where she was supposed to. I was also aware that the use of early intervention, I didn't really know what the program was until they came to me and they told me that there is a program just in case if my daughter was behind, if I felt that she was behind with anything, that it would help her. I would have a person come and they would help her and hopefully succeed in helping her be where she was supposed to be. But fortunately for me, my daughter was ahead. But they always told me that if I ever felt that I can use the services. Finally, I want to stress how the program helped me, and it has helped me to where I am today. And I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for Valley Youth House. And I thank everybody in Valley Youth House. I thank the donors. I thank everybody, because if it wasn't for them, the program wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't be here, and my daughter wouldn't have a home. Thank you.
Nicely said. I want to invite Dr. Patricia Mans to the podium, and she's going to talk about the importance of HB 2204, among other things. Thank you. Oh, I have to tell you, I have to tell everybody about her, though, too.
Oh, no.
Associate Professor and Program Director of School Psychology at Lehigh University. Dr. Mann's research is directed toward improving early childhood education for ethnic minority and low-income children. In particular, she is invested in empowering and supporting families' involvement in their children's learning at home and early childhood settings, utilizing research methods that engage families and early childhood professionals as collaborators. Her current projects include an evaluation of a home visiting program to promote oral language and early literacy among young urban children, examination of variables that affect families' involvement in home-based learning activities, and establishing cross-cultural validity of family involvement measures. Patty, thank you.
Thank you all for inviting me today and giving me this opportunity to be a part of such an important effort. And Janice, I can't follow what you said, but I think I can relate some of the things you said to the importance of having homeless children recognized in early intervention. And two words that you said were stability and ages and stages. In terms of children's development, we know that from birth to 3, children's development is huge. As a parent, if any of you are parents, or even as professionals working with young children, they acquire a lot quickly. With birth to 3, they're moving so rapidly that any insult to that throws them off course just as rapidly. And so it can be, and then they're on the wrong path. They're on a different trajectory of developing long-term problems. Early intervention can right that path for them before the alternate path, the one we don't want them on, becomes more stabilized. And so, early intervention is a way to work with children at the very start of any indication that there may be some difficulties, to help them with that foundation. The other thing we know about birth to 3 is stability is the necessary ingredient for children to acquire what we want them to learn in terms of their language, their thinking, and their learning. Stability in their parents and their connection to their parents, stability in their environment, their home environment, and their communities. And when that stability is disrupted by homelessness, it does put the child at risk. And so when you mentioned stability, Jenny said, that was, I think, a very key word to emphasize. What early intervention will do is it will help track children. So you mentioned ages and stages, which is actually a measure that's used every few months to look at a child's development and see how it's progressing, so that if the child's starting to progress off course, we can quickly bring them back. The other thing about early intervention is not just the early monitoring and the services it provides, but it's the way they provide services, which is through the parent. And I think that Janice's comments showed how much it changed her as a parent. So those changes in the parent are long-term. So at the age of 3, when the child's no longer part of one system for early intervention, what the family, what the child was received, and what the parent and the family members learned stays with that child for the long term. So, my role today is just to really make clear what early intervention is and why it's so important for children, and so important to capture children like homeless children that are facing more risk than a child who is in a home. They're facing more risk for developmental issues, and so we want to catch them early. So, thank you.
Suzanne Youngins will address the importance of HB 2204 from a physician's perspective and the Academy of Pediatrics. Suzanne Youngins is Executive Director of the Pennsylvania chapter of the Academy of Pediatrics. Suzanne helps lead an organization of 2,200 pediatricians who are dedicated to promoting the health and well-being of children and the value of pediatric practice. We're pleased to have her expert knowledge and support of early tracking services for homeless children. Suzanne.
Good morning, everyone. So it's my pleasure to join Representative Simmons and my colleagues here today for this important purpose, to urge passage of House Bill 2204 into law. As Executive Director, as you heard, of the Pennsylvania chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, I'm really here representing those 2,200 pediatricians in support of this bill, which will assure early intervention services for infants and toddlers who are vulnerable and at risk due to family homelessness. All of us here share the common goal of health, safety, and well-being for every child. Yet each of these goals for our children is threatened when a family is homeless. Certainly, we would agree that safety is compromised, that an infant's health is challenged by this extremely stressful situation, and a toddler's well-being is jeopardized. We can do better for these children as a community and as a society. Pennsylvania's pediatricians know from their day-to-day practice and from a wide range of research that children born into difficult situations do poorly if they do not have quality supports. But when infants and their mothers receive quality early childhood services, those children will be healthier, will enter school ready and eager to learn, and will have a greater chance to achieve lifelong success. We know that sound physical and mental health in early childhood provides a foundation for the construction of sturdy brain architecture and the achievement of a broad range of skills and learning capacities. The early intervention supports proposed in this bill, identification, assessment, tracking, and the resulting linkages to needed services, are critical for our homeless infants and toddlers right now. This is why the Pennsylvania chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, along with many of our medical colleagues, strongly support House Bill 2204. We thank Representative Simmons for his leadership in sponsoring this bill, and we join him today in urging its passage. Our infants and toddlers need and deserve this early development support. It makes compelling sense from a long-term human and economic perspective. Thank you.
We're very pleased to have State Representative Justin Simmons with us today to speak directly about his commitment to providing care for homeless babies. Representative Justin Simmons is serving his second term as state representative for the 131st Legislative District, which includes me, by the way, just saying, and other portions of Lehigh and Northampton counties. Justin was raised in the Lehigh Valley and graduated from Southern Lehigh High School and St. Joseph's University. Representative Simmons is the prime sponsor of legislation that would protect and support some of Pennsylvania's most vulnerable homeless infants and toddlers. Representative Simmons.
Kathy, thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. And John, thank you so much for putting this together. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all gathering here today to talk about this important piece of legislation that will have an impact on Pennsylvania children and their families. I want to talk, excuse me, I want to talk a little bit about House Bill 2204. Each year there are an estimated 6,000 infants and toddlers in Pennsylvania who are considered to be homeless. Some are in shelters, some are in campgrounds or vehicles, some are in temporary housing, or they move from place to place, wherever someone will take their parents. Most of these young homeless children suffer the kinds of trauma and neglect that none of us will ever have to deal with in our lives. While these children are born into a situation that places them at a disadvantage at the start, House Bill 2204 would remove these barriers and help their families get the assistance and resources that they need so these kids have a fighting chance. My legislation would amend the Early Intervention Services Act of 1990 to add a sixth category, which is homelessness of at-risk children, to administer an automatic tracking of an infant or toddler under the state program. Currently, there are 5 categories that trigger this automatic tracking. They include children whose birth weight is less than 1,500 grams, children being cared for in neonatal intensive care units, children born to chemically dependent mothers, children who are seriously abused or neglected, and children with confirmed dangerous levels of lead poisoning. If a child does not fall into one of these 5 categories, the parent must have their child tested in order to qualify for early intervention services. In the case of a homeless parent, oftentimes they will not seek the help needed for the fear that their child might be taken away due to their living circumstances. These children then go unheard of and unseen by professionals who can help them to improve their lives. We all know what can happen to early childhood. We all know that what can happen in early childhood can ripple through an entire lifetime. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, trauma and poverty impact young children in unique ways, leading to low learning capacities, maladaptive behaviors, and lifelong physical and mental health problems. Because of these effects, many children will be enrolled in costly special education programs, experience poor school attendance records, or drop out, leading to potential dependency on government assistance. Under the Early Intervention Services Program, these children with developmental difficulties would receive instruction from specialized teachers to prepare them to excel in the classroom. The program's results are encouraging. According to a recent report, 89% of preschoolers and 81% of infants and toddlers substantially increased the rate of their social relationships and their growth skills. Likewise, 90% of preschoolers and 82% of infants and toddlers substantially increased their knowledge skills after receiving the specialized education services. In addition, during the 2013-14 school year, 5,200 kids in the program were able to meet their individual goals and no longer needed the early intervention services by their 3rd birthday. With special education costing twice per student, as that is of early intervention services, this produces a substantial savings for the Commonwealth, approximately $3,905 per child. By interceding and beginning the tracking process as these children enter homelessness, we allow children who are already at a disadvantage because they don't have a roof over their heads the ability to catch up with their peers by the time they reach school. By investing services and resources in these children up front, instead of aiding down the line, the state has the ability to help homeless children break the cycle of poverty in which they currently live. By being prepared for school, they can excel in class, graduate on time, retain employment, and earn family-sustaining incomes. The costs associated are obviously substantial, but creating public policy that fundamentally enhances lives is what we are all elected to do in Harrisburg. This legislation, I believe, does just that. The marginal cost of childhood homelessness is not only expensive for the Commonwealth, but with 6,000 homeless infants in our state, we must collectively find a better way to reduce their chances of poverty for our future generation. And that truly is priceless. Helping these babies is the right thing to do. I am pleased to report that HB 2204 passed unanimously in the House of Representatives in June with 36 co-sponsors from both sides of the aisle. It is now under consideration in the Senate, where it also received the unanimous support of the Aging and Youth Committee. The bill currently awaits full action in the Senate. So if we would like to see the bill move forward, I would encourage everyone to contact their state senators to push the bill forward. We go back into session in September. There's still plenty of time left. It passed the House unanimously. I see no reason why it shouldn't pass the Senate unanimously. And please contact your senator to get this important piece of legislation move forward. And I thank you all for having me here today, and I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Before I introduce our final speaker today, I just want to add a couple of statistics to the mix. I'm a grant writer. I can't help myself. To give you an indication of the need, homeless children are 4 times more likely than other children to have developmental delays. Over 75% of those under age 5 have at least one major delay. Most commonly, that's speech. Over 44% have 2 delays, and the second most common is lack of fine motor control. And over 38% exhibit emotional and or behavioral health problems, meaning short attention span, sleep disorder, withdrawal, aggression, inappropriate interaction with adults. And 6% are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder among babies. To conclude today's event, I want to introduce Kevin Jenkins. Kevin is Vice President of the Pittsburgh Foundation and co-founder of the Campaign for What Works. Kevin directs public policy and civic leadership initiatives at the foundation and oversees several initiatives, including the Campaign for What Works, a statewide effort to promote smart policy programs in human services that work for the consumer, the taxpayer, and the state. Kevin.
Thank you. My role is to conclude this morning's press event so folks can get on with their day, and I believe there's going to be a tour when I'm done. So as Kathy had said, my name is Kevin Jenkins. I'm the Vice President for Public Policy with the Pittsburgh Foundation on the other side of the state involved in this work. I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out tonight and this morning. And as you heard from our speakers, just how critical this issue is for children and their parents. I am immensely humbled and honored to be part of the work, to be part of this policy work. So I want to thank again Kathy and her program for allowing us to be here this morning. I want to thank Janisa for sharing her amazing story with us this morning. And most of all, I want to thank Representative Simmons for his leadership on this critical piece of legislation that's going to benefit children and their families for years to come. So again, thank you all for coming out this morning. Again, as Representative Simmons said, if there are any questions for any of the panelists or him, I'm sure he'd be willing to take them. If not, I'll turn it back over to Kathy for the tour portion.
Do we have any questions that you want to address formally? Otherwise, we'll do it informally. All right, well, thank you very much for being with us today. We do have, I think, Ken, we have an apartment where one of our residents has agreed we could tour. I think she is not present, but she is here. That's even better. Very good. Okay, good. So, again, thank you very much for being here, and it's our pleasure to host. Please feel free to join us on tour of one of our apartments. Thank you.